the writer of Hebrews is commonly regarded as one of the three theological geniuses at work in the New Testament. Next slide. So sort of like these three figures are regarded, I think, commonly as some of the best baseball players ever. Willie Mays, my hero growing up. I think I saw him play maybe his last year, and I was like 4 years old. So I'm in center field. I don't remember him hitting a home run, but I do remember a spectacular catch. There's Hank Aaron, and then Barry Bonds, who there's some controversy about his records, but I think still he's, even before the controversy, he was a fantastic player. So anyway, so the author of Hebrews is one of the three superstars. If the New Testament writers were baseball players, they'd be in this category. Next slide. So Hebrews, it's really complex theology, and it's in its own particular way. So the first three chapters, the basic theme is the preeminence of Christ, the superiority of Christ, even compared to prophets who aren't the bottom of the barrel anyway. I mean, these are pretty, spectacular people. So superiority even to prophets, beyond prophets, superior to angels, and then beyond that, even superior to Moses. I mean, Moses is the guy in Hebrew history, and Christ is superior to Moses. Next slide. So the next group, the next three chapters, I guess that's four chapters though, 4, 5, 6, 7. The preeminence of Christ's priesthood. Next slide. And then chapters 8 through 10 that we're on right now, the preeminence of the sacrifice of Christ. Next slide. So I'm going to read the text again, apparently, because there it is in the slide deck. Now, the main point of what we are saying is this. We do have such a high priest who sat down at the right hand of the throne of the majesty of the majesty in heaven. So you don't get, not just every high priest sits down at the right hand of the throne of the majesty in heaven. So this is right there, one of the reasons why, one of the pieces of evidence that this high priest is superior. Who sat down at the right hand of the throne of the majesty in heaven, and who serves in this sanctuary, the true tabernacle set up by the Lord, not by a mere human being. So what we do is a copy. Might be a little bit shadowy. It's still important. It's still powerful, but it's a copy. So I grew up kind of, sort of, lower middle class maybe. Went to a church where, that there were some people that were more wealthy. And there was a kid I played with, my same age as me, John, and his father was the guy who invented the microwave oven. So they had the first microwave oven ever. I went over. So one Sunday a year, John come over to my house after church, and then we drop him off meet his parents at evening service. One day I'd go over to his house. So I saw this microwave oven thing, but one time we went to, they belonged to the Sharon Heights Country Club. I'd never been to a country club. And we went there to eat after church, and there were no prices on the menu. And I was always told, get the cheapest thing on the menu. And so I didn't know what to order. I was petrified, but I thought, okay, I'll just order what my friend John orders. And it was I don't know, chicken or whatever, and it was way too much. I couldn't eat it all, and I felt embarrassed. So I was trying to smush it and move it around my plate so it looked like I had eaten it all. And John's older brother, who was kind of a jerk, said at one point, "Look, Father, you and David ordered the same meal, and you ate all of yours, but he's merely smushed his and spread it around to make it look like he's eaten it all." I felt so embarrassed. And then his father said, "Well, that's true, Charles, But then I didn't have a chocolate shake to contend with. And I thought, you are so far on the other side of the tracks. I mean, I just blown away at this whole level beyond. And that's what this text is saying, is that what Christ has accomplished is beyond anything that we've experienced before. Way beyond. I mean, the life we've lived is the life of me, and now I'm realizing, wow, there's something on the other side of the tracks. And we actually belong on the other side of the tracks now. That's pretty awesome. I don't always feel like I belong. I don't always live up to it. But the nice thing about it too is it isn't just that we can go to the other side of the tracks, but the other side of the tracks is pulling us towards it. That's what Christ has accomplished. Next slide. For every high priest is appointed to offer both gifts and sacrifices, and so it was necessary for this one also to have something to offer. If he were on earth, he would not be a priest, for there are already priests who offer the gifts prescribed by the law. Next slide. They serve at a sanctuary that is a copy and shadow of what is in heaven. This is why Moses was warned when he was about to build the tabernacle, see to it that you make everything according to the pattern shown you on the mountain. Next slide. But in fact, the ministry Jesus has received is as superior to theirs as the covenant of which he is mediator is superior to the old one, since the new covenant is established on better promises. Next slide. For if there had been nothing wrong with the first covenant, no place would have been sought for another. But God found fault with the people and said, next slide, the days are coming, declares the Lord, when I will make a new covenant with the people of Israel and with the people of Judah. Next slide. It will not be like the covenant I made with their ancestors when I took them by the hand and led them out of Egypt, because they didn't remain faithful to my covenant, and so I turned away from them, declares the Lord. Next slide. This is the covenant I will establish with the people of Israel. After that time, declares the Lord, I will put my laws in their minds and write them on their hearts. I will be their God, and they will be my people. No longer will they teach their neighbor or say to one another, know the Lord, because they will all know me, from the least of them to the greatest. I will forgive their wickedness and will remember their sins no more. That's pretty awesome. Next slide. By calling this covenant new, he has made the first one obsolete, and what is obsolete and outdated will soon disappear. Next slide. So what do you think? What do you see? This is the participation part. This is all I have planned for right now. So what do you notice? I'm already with Jesus. I don't have to worry. Even on this life, and that is true, even on this life, we're actually, I don't know what the right way to put it, but a part of us is actually there because Christ is with us. So that's that weird idea, like we usually think, I'm going here, but maybe the destination is actually pulling us towards it. That's a really comforting thought. It ain't just me trying to be more Christian, more Christ-like, but God is actually energized in pulling me forward. What else strikes you?
Jesus is the fulfillment, like one thing you said earlier about how sometimes we don't feel like we are there, and a lot of times we're focused on our own things, which is not, which we shouldn't be focused on, we should be focused on Christ.
Yeah. So Jesus is the fulfillment, and that yeah. So it's not all on us. Anything else? Yes. Yeah, write the law in my heart and in my mind. I mean, laws are kind of funny, aren't they? I mean, we sometimes bridle, we rub up against them, especially like and some of us will like speed limits. I mean, for most of us, speed limits are kind of speed suggestions, and maybe, if we're in an area we know well, we know the real speed limit is like 10 miles an hour faster than this, and if we're in a city we don't know, we might inadvertently find out there's a place where, they really mean the speed limit. But law, typically we understand that as preventing me from doing what I want. Anything else? Yep. Yeah, we can all know him fully. And most of the time, it's the folks who come to God with some humility and say, "Teach me." They're the ones that know the closest, as opposed to the ones who think they know a lot about it. Okay, next slide. So some initial observations and then 3 themes. So that's where we're going. It's kind of nice to know where we're going, right? Like if you're going to get in the car with me, you'd like to know ahead of time if we're going to New York or just to, Davis or something like that. So this is where we're going. It's not New York, but it's a little farther away than Davis. Next slide. So the first initial observation is this is about reconciliation. It's a big issue here. We need to reconcile, right? We need to reconcile with other people. We need to reconcile sometimes with ourselves. Sometimes we need to reconcile with things we've done. Maybe there's something you've done that's in the rearview mirror yesterday, or maybe a week ago, or maybe just this morning, and you're wrestling with it. Why did I do that? What about me is broken? And you need to reconcile with that. Next slide. So we need to reconcile, because without it, the damage we inflict on one another and upon ourselves can become permanent. We all know people that have been wounded and they just can't let it go. And it turns them, we can watch it just sour them. And maybe it's because the person that wounded them doesn't acknowledge it. But boy, if we let ourselves ruminate on that, it ends up poisoning ourselves. My mom let that happen. And she just ruminated on that for a long time. I'd come home from school every day, and she'd ask me why this happened. Now she got over it eventually, but it poisoned her. Next slide. So we often choose to hold on to not liking some other people or something that happened wrong with us. But with some people, we'll cut them some slack. But pretty much always, not everybody. Next slide. So I guess what I want to say is we're slow to learn that in harboring bitterness, we end up doing damage to ourselves. That's who we really hurt. I mean, there are people who are disliked by others who don't even know they're being disliked. And they're totally happy with their life. So we're not really hurting them any. We're hurting ourselves. And it's not just that we're hurting ourselves by turning ourselves into a downer, but we're actually poisoning the way we see the world. We're poisoning the lens through which we see the world, through which we experience the world. Next slide. So the second observation, the true tabernacle. What is that? What does that suggest? The reference to a true tabernacle suggests what? Pardon? Yeah, the old one wasn't true. I mean, that's kind of scary. I mean, I would like my medicine to be true. I'd like, especially these days, I would like the gauge of the gas pump to be accurate. We like things to be true. And the tabernacle that they've inherited apparently wasn't true. Next slide. So this is my idea of some things that are insufficient. So I don't know if you can see that slide, but there's healthy food on the right-hand side, and there's the food that I eat on the left-hand side. Yes, it's available. Chocolate-covered donut bombs are available for breakfast, but it probably isn't the right stuff. Next slide. So there's an insufficient tabernacle. This world, this life, actually is not the really real. It's not what God intended. It's what's happened after we have broken things and screwed things up. But there's something beyond human greed and pettiness. Next slide. Third observation, high priests and priests, mediators, agents of reconciliation. But they're also explainers, like Martin Luther. Next slide. So there's Martin Luther. Explainers, people who can help you understand the big picture. What's actually going on in the world? What's actually the dynamics of human life and faith? Next slide. Fourth, there's the true mediator. Jesus is the true mediator, the true agent. Have you ever been bamboozled, hoodwinked by someone who claimed to be something that they really weren't? Well, Jesus is the true mediator. There are lots of fake ones out there. Next slide. And there's a new agreement. For verse 7 and following, there's a need for a new covenant because the old one is limited. Next slide. This is Stephen Carter. Was a professor at Yale, PhD at Stanford, one of the most brilliant thinkers I've ever heard. I heard him speak several times. And 25, 30 years ago in Chicago, I heard him define law. He said, I want to define law for you. I got a headache immediately. But then he said this, law does only two things. It makes you do what you don't want to do and keeps you from doing what you want to do. That's it. Right? Law keeps you from doing what you want to do. But it cannot change your desire. So this whole dynamic that the New Testament is talking about, it has to do with how we understand law and how we understand freedom and grace. So laws are good because laws have they're designed to keep us safe. So if we're all driving along Highway 80 from West Sacramento towards Vacaville, which I think is still a nightmare. I believe it's still kind of a nightmare. There are lots of construction on the road, and it boils down to like one or two lanes. And so that's there. That construction is there to make the situation eventually better, and it will be eventually. But let's say we were also driving up in the Sierra somewhere along a 2-lane road. And the speed limit said, 40 miles an hour, and I'm in the first car, and you're behind me. And but there's a wildfire all around us, and it's threatening to cross the road. And so you're saying, Dave, hurry, because some of us behind you will not survive. And Dave says, I'm going as fast as the law will allow. Sorry, but I can't break the law. Some of you will die, but I have to obey the law. See, that's a failure to understand the dynamic. The law is there not to compel behavior, but the purpose of the law is for safety, right? And so when we remember not just law, but its purpose, then we can see that sometimes we need to break the law. And that's, of course, what Jesus is all about. The parable of the Good Samaritan, right? So there's a guy going down to Jericho, and robbers beat him up, and he leaves him for dead. And the priest and the Levite, because if you're a Levite and a priest, if you touch a dead body, you're unclean for a week. If your shadow falls across the dead body, you're unclean for a day. And so the law says, don't take a chance. And Jesus' teaching there is to remind people that law isn't the end in itself. We have to think deeper than that. What is the law intended to preserve? Is that making sense? Next slide. So, some initial observations. Remember the preeminence of Christ, the preeminence of his priesthood, and the preeminence of his sacrifice. Next slide. So, this is a meditation on law and that which the law is intended to preserve, as I just said. Next slide. It's a meditation on heritage and on understanding what it means to be human for you and I, what it means to be made in God's image, what it means to be in connection with one another. Next slide. And it's on the character of God. Next slide. So theme number one, as I said, the law and its purpose. Next slide. So law does only two things: makes you do what you don't want to do, keeps you from doing what you want to do. Next slide. Second theme, what does it mean to be human? Any thoughts on that? What does it mean to be human, just from what you've gathered from the Christian life so far? Yes. Making mistakes. Yeah. Sometimes it doesn't take long, right? Sometimes you make a mistake before you even get out of bed. Anything else? What does it mean to be human? You're never as humble as you think you are. Are you saying that just to me personally? Wow, that's really painful, but it's true. Yeah. Wow. What else? We're created in God's image. So there's this huge disparity. I mean, on the one hand, stuff that's intensely positive, on the other hand, like just really squalid and embarrassing. Next slide. So here's some human beings. Mother Teresa, Martin Luther King, Hillary Clinton, Al Capone. All human beings along a little bit of a continuum. So what does it mean to be human? We're capable of tremendous good and a horrible evil. And we have to be careful what we get used to. That becomes normal. Next slide. So the German poet Goethe in the 1800s wrote, "Noble be man, merciful and good." That's us. Noble be human beings, merciful and good. I saw a video, I don't know, a couple weeks ago, and it was already maybe 15 years old, but it was of a female who had been in Nazi concentration camps. And the day that the Americans came to liberate, and she saw this American soldier, and they end up getting married, but she saw this American soldier, and she realized it's a different color uniform. It's a different color military vehicle. And he walked up and he said, "Are you all right?" And she said, "I'm fine." And then, "Can you show me the other ladies?" And she was just gobsmacked, because for 5 years that no one had treated her like a human being like that. And then a little later on, this was his memory later, is that she quoted that saying from Goethe. Here she is, just liberated, 10 minutes, and she makes a gesture with her arm, pointing to the other prisoners who are emaciated. And she says, "Noble be man, merciful and good." Well, we can be the exact opposite, can't we? Now, I've never acted like a Nazi, but that doesn't mean I'm all good. Next slide. So what does it mean to be human? It means we're capable of great good and great evil. We got to remember that. We got to remember what we are capable of on the other side. Next slide. What it means to be human? Well, we commit murder and we lie and we're selfish. Sometimes in really petty ways. Sometimes in ways that nobody notices. Sometimes I tell people I'm busy when I'm really not. I'm busy relaxing, decompressing. Maybe that's what you're doing right now. So, next slide. So what does it mean to be human? Well, we're made for God and we've lost our way. That maybe we ought to remember that principally. We're made for God, but we've lost our way. Next slide. Okay. What does that mean? Well, we got to think about the character of God. That's the third theme. Next slide. God is forgiving. Always. Forgives every single time. Knows us, knows our frame, knows everything we've done in secret. He knows even things we've done that we've forgotten about. And he still loves you and me and the people out there, even the person who's going to flip you off later on as you drive home. He's forgiving, always forgives, and he is always interested in drawing us towards himself. We don't have to find him, we just have to quit walking away. And so Lord, please find me. Help me. So God is drawing us toward himself. Now, we can be helping by walking that way, that's a great idea. But whether we know it or not, he's drawing us toward himself. Next slide. Third theme, even to your old age and your gray hairs, I am he. I am he who will sustain you. I have made you and I will carry you. I will sustain you and I will rescue you. I love that, the rescue part. It's not just I'm going to make your life better. I'm going to give you a coupon for an extra Big Mac. I'm going to rescue you. Next slide. So rescue, well, God's forgiving. Forgives every single time. And his Spirit, he's put his Spirit in us. We just need to create more space for where the Spirit dwells in our lives. Create some time every morning or whatever works for you, a little more time saying, Lord, more of you, less of me. Help me to think more clearly about my life and about what I do this day. So we have to speak of the Christian life as a journey we are on, the upward call of God in Christ Jesus. Next slide. For as high as the heavens are above the earth, so great is his love for those who fear him. As far as the east is from the west, so far as he removed our transgression from us. Next slide. But as I said earlier, what if in the end, the goal, the end of the journey is drawing us towards itself? I think that's how we ought to think about it. God is drawing us towards himself. So quit resisting. Quit putting on the brakes. Quit trying to override the autopilot and keep turning to the ditch. Next slide. That didn't really work. So that's Sacramento on the left-hand side. That's Lake Tahoe on the right. I think, have everybody been to Lake Tahoe? Yeah. I mean, we don't even think I'm going to Lake Tahoe. But it would be kind of cool to think Lake Tahoe is pulling me towards itself. Next slide. So here's the truth. You are more loved than you know. No matter how much you know it, you're more loved than you know. And you are of greater worth and value and dignity than you know. And that you've experienced. Next slide. You are the intended recipient of forgiveness. I know people who cannot forgive themselves. But God has forgiven us. No matter what you've done, no matter what's been done to you. Next slide. And your family. This City Church family, we need one another. We don't just condescend and let the others be in the same space with us. We need one another. We need one another sometimes just to be kind and listen and embrace. Sometimes we need one another to say, what were you thinking? That's what family does when it's healthy. And that's why the Christian community is called a body, not a population. You know, my arm just can't decide, I'm going to just go on my own. I don't think we Americans are very good at living into this idea. Because we got a lot of other resources. We need each other more than we know. Next slide. That was the last slide. We're here for this hour and a half, away from the busyness of our day, of our week, away from whatever else is going on. The Lord God made you, loves you, has saved you through his Son, Jesus Christ, and has provided a community. We're a family. We need each other. Let's live into that. Amen?